kind of the converse of that, which I find interesting, is the Hasbro cinematic universe. I kind of hate to say that, but Hasbro IP universe, whatever, what have you. So they've got a number of games that all use the same system that are based around their intellectual properties. So you've got a My Little Pony game, you've got a Transformers game, you have a G.I. Joe game, you've got a Power Rangers game.
Hell yeah, Power Rangers.
Yeah, right? And what I find very interesting about this system is that there's a world out there, and there's rules for it in the book that you can use to combine all of those worlds into one game, which sounds chaotic, but kind of interesting. You know, I'm down to see Snake Eyes fight a Megazord.
Just a reminder, this is a spoiler-heavy podcast. Different series that require a spoiler warning will be in the description. Hi everyone, this is Leo, the Geek Scorpio, and I wanted to welcome you to the special episode of Gaming Theater Podcast, recorded live at Gem State Gaming Convention. Hope you enjoy it, and now back to the show. Gaming Theater Podcast. Today's episode, we're going to talk about a wacky world that is TTRPG. No, the wacky world of licensed IP TTRPG. Yeah, that's the title.
Close enough.
Close enough.
It's a whole alphabet.
It's a whole alphabet.
Technically, licensed RPG IP is how you wrote it. Yeah, same thing.
Same thing. I'll get to that note in a moment. All right. So, just to let everybody know, there's a live recording over here at Gem State Gaming Convention. Woo! With that being said, just to let everyone know, I am going to be your host today. My name's Leo. I'm also known as the Geek Scorpio. And over to my left is going to be... Thank you. You want to Got it.
Hi, my name is DandDaine. You've probably heard my voice before. If you listen to our podcast, if you're new for the first time, welcome. I am an award-winning DM. Big nerd, and I stream on Twitch sometimes.
Yeah. And over to my right is going to be a special guest today.
Hi there, I'm WG Ashwood, Ashwood Audio. I'm your fancy-focused charity host, and I'm here to talk about licensed IP RPGs.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
We booked Ashwood Audio in person.
For this event. For this time. So, with this, let's just get into this. So, when we talk about licensed IP TTRPGs, and that is a mouthful, what we're talking about on this one is, let's say you, John Q, whoever gamer, is going to decide, I'm going to make myself a tactical tabletop RPG of some sort. Doesn't matter what, just matters that they want to do this game. But they don't want to just try to cookie cutter everything, right? They like a particular show, or a particular book, or a particular story on that. And they're like, I want to do this. So, what does that guy have to do? In order to make sure that they want to publish this work, they have to get the permission from the whoever is holding the license for that or that entity. So, the reason why we have to call it licensed IP TTRPG, for those that know for that one, it's the way the rights are treated are the same as are similar for if you are writing a supplemental material for that, like the fanfic. But when you want to publish for out in the world. However, not every company treats it that way, so some will have a license specifically for TTRPGs.
Yeah, it's very kind of a difficult issue that a lot of people have to contend with, where it's one thing to make something for your own use, right? That's something you can do. You know, if you wanted to put Snoopy in your TTRPG, you could. But publishing something adds another element of sophistication to it, right? Certain companies are going to be completely fine with you using their IP in certain limited ways, which they will highlight on their website and in great legal detail. Allow you some use behind the IP, but others very much less so. You know, we don't mess the mask for a reason.
Oh yeah. And then others will have, and this is where we get to the wacky world part of this, there is licensed TTRPGs with their IP, and there are specific rules in their contract for how they have to make a tabletop RPG. It is one of the weirdest things to do this because essentially they have to make the game in a way to work with the material that they're given. But to get permission to work that material, they also have to make sure that game abides by the rules that whoever is the writer needs to subject it to, which sounds more confusing than it actually is, and in some cases it actually is more confusing. So, for an example of that one, back in the early 80s, back in about 84, 85, when Ghostbusters was big, someone got the license for the TTRPG to make that game for it. So Dan Aykroyd wrote a bunch of notes to be used in the movie for Ghostbusters, but not all of it got from page to paper on that one or got into the screen. So he used this as kind of an excuse to fit the rest of the supplemental material on that. And so what we have is the actual Ghost classification, for example, this is a class 5 entity or this is a class 4 entity. It's briefly mentioned in the movie, but they have it completely spelled out in the TTRPG for what that is. And it's like, okay, so we're gonna get you all these extra sets of notes. And from my understanding, I haven't seen the actual one for Alan yet, but they can get very, very messy because there's details in that, like how their proton packs work, how to recharge a program pack, why do you have to recharge that, and other various details of this, and what entities have to deal with where this works. Does it come up in the movie? No. But this is the excuse to put in that supplemental material.
This is a bit of an aside, but I'm kind of surprised they haven't done a Ghostbusters like Phasmophobia yet.
Mm-hmm.
Especially given what you just busted down, like recharging proton packs and whatnot. I feel like that's a pretty good.
Yeah, mechanic.
Yeah, for sure.
There's even a listing in there for, I don't know if that's where they mention the governor. It's so that way, which is a device that's attached to every proton pack after what happened in the first movie, so they don't accidentally blow up the planet.
What if they need to cross the streams?
That's what that governor's there for. You got to turn it off.
Oh.
So if they accidentally cross the streams on that, and then you have, which is Ghostbusters as a property is not, has always done supplemental material, but only if it's written by Dan Aykroyd or Harold Ramis specifically. So, and then I bring this up because there's Ghostbusters the video game, but the script is actually written by Dan Aykroyd, so anything in that game is also part of the canon officially for that one.
Does that mean like real Ghostbusters and whatnot also? Like the cartoons in the 90s that made no sense?
Somewhat.
Sure.
So the thing is, they use part of their supplemental material, but not all of it.
Got
So
it.
some of it works and some of it doesn't. The big one on that, and we discussed this in another episode, is ghosts and Ghostbusters cannot because they're not corporeal. They don't have a physical manifestation. They only have a manifestation. They're not actually physical, so they can't actually be destroyed. And so it's the reason why you have to trap a ghost is because this is how we can get rid of them. But that's sort of a thing with Ghostbusters. If you're wondering, people will go backwards. You want to know what the funnest ones I have to deal with? Looking some of this up. What the? Oh, please.
So I really like the challenges that have to go into creating a licensed RPG, because you have to honor the source material that takes all of these feelings and thoughts and things that a fan will have about being in the show and coordinate that into mechanics. So I think that's definitely one of the biggest obstacles that we'll run into when we're doing something like creating a licensed RPG.
Okay. It's already done.
Technical
Go
difficulties.
on, work with it.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. Technical problems. We'll fix it later.
Fixing the post.
Fix it was. Okay, so.
No, I think it's a really good point, Ashwood. You know, it's one thing, there was a number of other third-party companies who I know went about trying to incorporate different IP into their game, some of which more successful than others, but I think it's really kind of a thin line where you have to decide whether or not, how faithful to a certain show, movie, book, whatever, what have you, an IP, do you want to get, right? I think there are definitely times where the mechanics of the games do not lend the same gravitas that I guess the show or the movie or the book would have. So I think it's a very interesting idea to bring up where you have to kind of tread carefully because the fans are going to be expecting one thing. I mean, obviously, different brands are going to have different wants, needs, and desires out of the gate, but I do think it's going to be kind of interesting to see where that sort of meets and how well they do it. The World of Warcraft RPG we've got on here was fine, but it didn't really feel like World of Warcraft, and it was based out of 3.5. So it just felt like D&D with extra steps. To me, it was a 20-sided system.
It was a 20-sided system, and nearly every ability has a cooldown.
Yeah.
Because every ability when you're playing the MMO has a cooldown. So they had to add a cooldown feature into the World of Warcraft TTRPG.
Kind of felt like they were preparing us for 4th edition, which I know is a bit of a divisive topic. I actually like a lot about 4th edition, but I do think that there are some notable issues with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the cooldown aspect, similar, cooldown on your powers, you can use this once a day or once a week or once in a lifetime, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they probably kind of cut their teeth on the World of Warcraft TTRPG before moving to the 4th edition.
Yeah, so with that, that's not the only way that plays into effect. Another one that's kind of a weird one, there's an old TTRPG called The Adventures of Indiana Jones, which is the Indiana Jones TTRPG that was made based on the movie. So in the film, there's only like 4 characters that are protagonists. Yes, and Liz Zombie Hand was helped me to find and track down all this information for her.
Can I request the information be included that when we were looking for it?
Oh yeah, when we were looking for the information for that, I thought that you could not play as Indiana Jones, but only as the side characters. Turns out you can play as Indiana Jones. You can't custom create any character as a playable character because the game don't let you do that. So you get to pick as either playing as Indy, or you can play as Marion Ravenwood, or Sala, or Jock, the guy who happens to be the pilot in the beginning of that movie, and you never get to see him again after the opening sequence. Him is playable, but what if I wanted to bring, make my original OC not actually Nathan Drake, but also it could be based on him? No, there's literally no rules to make another protagonist in there.
Montana Smith.
No, Montana Smith doesn't stay here.
We're on that base.
No, that's why.
That's the problem. I think it's kind of interesting. I have to wonder, I've not had the experience with Indiana Jones TTRPG, but what are your stats? Like whip, gun,
It's
explore?
it's fighting, thinking, and I think athletics, and that's about it.
Snakes is definitely.
It had to be snakes.
Had to be sticks.
Stealing priceless relics from bad guys?
No, that's not a skill, that's a feature.
That's
That's just what you do.
I'd like to use my feet, it belongs in a museum. I just get it.
I do think, kind of bouncing off of that, there are some systems like Cortex that I think would run an Indiana Jones game probably pretty good.
They would. So it's weird. So Cortex is made by Margaret Wise.
Yeah.
I think it's Productions.
I think it's published.
I think it's publishing. So when they had that under,
No, it's published.
is it Productions? Yeah. So Margaret Wise Productions, they make a bunch of different TTRPGs. Which gets kind of funky because one of the things they wrote is the Dragonlance series. Like Margaret Wise is the writer for that, but also made a TTRPG for that.
And Tracy Hickman.
And Tracy
To
Hickman.
be clear.
But it's kind of like publishing your own work and then making it into a TTRPG and just hoping that that you got the license to do everything for it.
That's the dream. As soon as I can license an Ashwood audio RPG, I'm there.
Ooh, I do that.
I think you would have a lot of very stellar stats in that day.
I agree.
Can I have the stats, but not as much, but still with cool stuff?
Yes, of course.
Yes! Take that, stats.
I'm just saying, like, that having integrity is all well and good. Selling out, that's what I'm good for, you know? I IP that people like. Make me a game.
Make me a game, that's what I want. So when they've been known for publishing different IPs all the time. And Cortex originally was called that because it was named after the Firefly computer system, which is called the Cortex, for their version of the internet. And so that's what got it started. And so the first one they did was licensed for how to do a Firefly campaign. And so they had all these characters and stats for it. And luckily they didn't have to deal with too much as far as what they needed to present to the audience. But one of the things that they did do is they had to make ship building similar to a character sheet, because in the show Firefly, the ship is its own character.
Yeah.
And then you have your own character.
I mean, kind of the same thing, Mystery Machine.
Yeah.
Mach 5, vehicles are people too. One thing I really like about Cortex Prime, right, just to kind of touch on that really briefly, for those of you who may not know what it is at home, it's a world-building tabletop RPG system where you and your players choose the genre, build the game, and forge the story from a set of modular rules and mechanics. That's all a way to say that if you want to run a Batman game, but don't want to run, the Batman game licensed by whichever company, you could then set about doing a sort of dark noir, or maybe even like a Saturday night cartoon version of it if you wanted to. You could do whatever you want. You could have people playing these other characters through the loose allocations of the rules. The rules are meant to be slotted into kind of whatever frame or skin you would like them to be in. Or a skin of your own choosing, either, right? It doesn't have to be in that, but it's a great system.
But it's also to a point in the manual for that, which I brought the manuals for because I do have them.
Yeah.
But in the manual for that one, it is all just like any other RPG that's on there. They have examples of what your game should play as, like a scenario-based thing. They were not allowed to do the Firefly characters in that scenario, so they had to make a whole new set of characters called the Aces and Eights ship, and use them for all these scenarios at the back of the book. So you can play those scenarios, but don't use the Firefly characters. That's not how this is supposed to be written down. But it's an oddity, but that's how you have to write and adjust that for that one. They also had the Supernatural one that came afterwards, and they readjusted it for the show. One of the things that they added in was, because Dean and Sam Winchester never bothered to actually go to a store to buy things, they changed the mechanics so you don't have to ever go to the store and buy something. It's called a lifestyle dice, and you just, if you could get it technically, we could let you have it. That's it. Enjoy.
We do see them coming back from stores quite a bit.
Yeah, they come back from stores.
But they don't go to stores.
They don't go to stores.
That's all credit card fraud.
Yes, that's all credit card.
That's the stat.
Car, also person, just doesn't know.
Yeah.
The car is also a person.
The car is also a person. Well, actually, in the manual, no. So the car is a person.
What?
So in the manual for that one, the car is considered a precious item. So specifically for Dean. So whenever Dean has, so they have a feats feature. So with that, you can get a bonus for die for having this item with you. So if it was Indiana Jones, you would have like an extra D4 that you would have as a whip, because he uses whips all the time, right? It's very much his signature thing. Or if you're using it a lot, let's say Samurai Jack, it would be like a D8 for Samurai Jack. But so they determined it, no, D6. So they determined it that anytime that, so for Baby, the car, it counts, because it's so big, as a D8 bonus for Dean specifically. And Dean cannot lose that item in the game. Okay.
You're going to use the Firefly as a character sheet in this game and not give Baby the Card their own? Crazy.
I didn't publish this.
Why would you do this to us,
We
Leo?
can do it better.
Yeah.
We can start writing it right now.
Right now.
Yeah.
We'll get the license, we'll get everything situated.
How hard could it be?
Actually, how good it be?
I mean, the hardest part is getting them to agree to it and hear us out, right?
True.
Honestly, yes. And so what the thing is that they want to know how you're going to integrate it for the world. The one that I bumped into after doing some research, which was confusing as get out, is Final Fantasy XIV has its own MMO.
Yeah, new.
Yeah.
No,
This year.
sorry, MMO, and then there's TTRPG.
Yeah.
So the thing with the TTRPG, they have lists and lists of things that they need in case you just want to roll a character. You need a D20 and a D6. And with that D20, you can roll for your name, you can roll for your character, roll for your stats, roll for your jobs, roll for everything for it. However, what if you want to play a level 1 character? You know, start right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
No?
Done.
I mean, that
Game starts at level 30, you get, which I needed to know why the job that the game started at. All right, go for it.
So, in Final Fantasy XIV, well, yes, you do still your character at level 1. Technically speaking, you don't unlock your base class until level 30. It used to be in A Realm Reborn before they went, in Classic and then in a little bit of Realm Reborn. You used to have to get your main class to 30 and your subclass to 15 to unlock your main job class. Using the job classes of the Final Fantasy franchise, in order, if you wanted to be a monk, let's say, you would have to get Pugilist 30 and Dragoon 15. At that point, you then unlock Monk level 1.
Mm-hmm. And the way that the TTRPG works is you have to, they only deal with job classes. So levels 1 through 30, you just skip all of those and start at level 30.
Yeah.
And then you keep going until you can level up until level 60, and then that's it.
Yep.
So 1 through 30, El Penguin earlier today had a different theory behind that. And it's because if you play Final Fantasy XIV, it's free to play until you hit about 30. So get into your job classes for it.
Well, not to actually Leo, but the hit MMORPG Final Fantasy XIV with free trial up to the Stormblood expansion allows you to play up to level 70 for free.
That's true, but I didn't write this.
Not sponsored.
Not sponsored.
Final
Unless.
Fantasy sponsor us or else.
Yeah. I'm down. I know a little bit of that. It's fun. Shout out to Behemoth Server, just saying.
What server was I on? I don't remember. I don't play it.
But yeah, no, I think it's kind of an interesting idea, right? I think that a lot of games want to start you at first level, whatever they call that, right? Whether it's beginner, novice, or neonate, or for vampire. You know, you kind of want to start as a new being in this story, right? It allows you to tell a story from the beginning. You don't have to worry about power creep, but I do think it's really interesting to start at level 30. So it's like the MMO.
Yeah.
Because that's really where the game kind of starts, is at level 30.
In my experience, there's a lot of fetch quests until level 30.
Yeah, that's not right.
So you can just imagine what it was like going to the store and then finding out your job as a dragon.
I mean, I will say, like, the MSQ is gorgeous in that game, but there's a lot of fetch quests.
There's cool things in here, but I gotta fetch something.
First, I need 10 buzzard asses. Please and thank you.
So, with that, the other thing on this is that there is, when you have these kind of licensing and adjustments, yeah, you have to work your way around that. And so rarely you'll have one that is perfectly in line to what you want. So, and you'll find some weird hidden mechanics in there that might be placed in there. Back to Margaret Weiss. So when they did Cortex Plus, they had a Marvel comic character version for that one.
Was it plus or prime?
No, that one was Plus.
Okay. Okay.
So this is important because in
Yes.
the Cortex Plus system, it's not, you have instead of having individual stuff, you have a phrase that you will use.
Yeah.
Whatever phrase that you use for that one will determine your feats and your flaws on it. So the example they gave in the book is if you're playing as Wolverine,
Yeah.
you have he's the best at what he does. So anytime Wolverine makes a combat roll, he automatically gets a bonus to that combat roll, irregardless. However, And what he does is not nice, so anytime he makes a social roll, he takes that as a debuff for that one. And with that, when he has that, so here's the thing with this one for it. That is totally with only Marvel characters that have that thing. Like there's a thing to create your own character for it, but it's slightly nerfed for everyone else's stuff. Like you have to make a specific race, but you can't use, I think it actually said you cannot use anything that's already published that's like,
Yeah,
like anything else.
the Marvel one was a little bit weird. They did a little bit of a better job in some of the subsequent systems, right? Where like, if you like pithy one-liners, this is a game you should try because it is very fun to be like, oh yeah, I activate my feet, fall 7 times, get up 8, so that maybe I can overcome this challenge. And your storyteller's like, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, no, I don't really apply in this situation. So I do think it's very interesting that like, the best of what he does and what he does isn't very nice. He's not usable by another person. Like if you wanted to make X-23 as an example, you could.
Yeah, you just can't. It's not in there. What if it was written in a way so that way it's to encourage you to play the Marvel characters specifically.
They want you to be
They want you to be
the comic
book characters. They don't want you. They want you to lean towards that.
You don't get to be Porcupine. No, you got to be Wolverine.
Yeah, and that's part of the agreement. They had to put in something in their licensing to say, hey, you got to make the Marvel characters a little more encouraging to play as because we want them to play as the Marvel characters.
Which I will say, there's nothing stopping you from just ignoring that.
As a game master, technically you can just ignore it.
You're more like Gaijin.
It's like guidelines. Weirder of an example of that is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. By the way, I'm aware that this comes up in our podcast like once every other episode for Turtles.
Hell yeah, turtle power.
I've never heard you talk about this.
Okay, so anyway.
Break it down for me.
Break it down now. However, so like, actually that is important for this one.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it several times. What's going on with the Turtles thing is that when the Turtles comic first started becoming big, they got licensed for the TTRPG before they got the cartoon. And so what happens is that when they licensed it for the cartoon, they already had the TTRPG out, and it went in this kind of order. The first one is just a set of adventures based on like the first 4 comics that they have, and that's about it. So anything that goes past that isn't actually has any rules or stuff written on it. They had to add in another supplement later for that. And then when the cartoon came out, they added a new supplement because they had a contract with the same TTRPG company that if they make so many changes, they have to actually evolve with that. So they've got supplement after supplement. They have a Mad Max one that they had to do, which later they did the Mad Max one, Mad Max Mutant storyline, and later they added into the TTRPG rules. It was weird because I got to read that one first. I'm like, cool. Can I play Leo? No. Can I play Raph? No. And that's because that storyline specifically says that they are not here in this world. So you can play as completely new mutants. They have Roadhogs, which are literally a group of mutants that are also on the highways in the deserts. But at the same time, you cannot play any classic character if you want to because they are gone according to the storyline. So you can't do that. It's so weird on that one.
So yeah, to kind of jump off of that as well, it's really interesting to see companies sort of make these different choices when they're trying to adapt the IP. Much to Ashwood's point from earlier, whether or not they do it successfully kind of depends on who you want. If you want to play in the Turtles universe, it sounds like from what you just said, you absolutely can do that, and that's cool. But if you want to be Leonardo in that one scenario, there's not really a way you can do it, which I'm sure has led to some people being disappointed.
Yeah, because you really want to play Donatello.
I do.
He's okay. He does machines. How useful could that be?
Pretty useful because how many machines I
But
have.
like more than the leader?
Yeah, true.
I'm just saying. Splinter didn't put Donatello in charge. Throwing that out there.
Donnie's too busy.
He's doing machines.
Yeah, that's what he does. He does one thing.
He does machines. Take the song. I digress.
So yeah, if you want to, there is the thing is that getting this license is because it falls under that same gray area as printing a book, and a lot of places, IPs don't really mind that you have a book supplement for their work, because they usually say that's like, okay, this is a side story, or this might fit into the canon. This is one of the reasons why Star Wars has so many, and Star Trek has. So sometimes you'll have multiple people getting that TTRPG license. Well, in other words, it's not as difficult to get that license for a material. The hardest part is to find who has the license for that material. Who's the person you got to talk to get this to be done? And then what kind of things that they want in their contract that says, cool, you can do that. There is, and sometimes it can get really messy. Like, I try to look for an Evil Dead based TTRP that's out there, and I'm pretty certain there's one that's out there for Evil Dead. I mean, it's Evil Dead.
It's gotta be at least one.
That's gotta be at least one, but it's hard to find and hard that. Yeah, go ahead, buddy. Zombie hand on camera, everybody. Round of applause. Yay! Alright. So why I bring that up is because one of the biggest problems you have in that is which movie you go off of, because the first movie is made by one company. The second movie is the licensing for that IP is technically owned by another company, and the third licensing is owned by yet another company. So like it's the first Evil Dead is the one that's owned by Renaissance Pictures. The second one is owned by, I believe, it's a independent. It's an independent film company that kind of went defunct. And the third one that has Army of Darkness it's tied to MGM, and so that license is split. So you have to like get a hold of Sam Raimi's guys, and still get a hold of the guys who do the material for that same production company, and you still have to get the license from MGM.
So who owns the license to the TTRPG?
Depends which version of the movie you're basing it off of, and that's where the messy part. Or if let's say you go with Ash versus Evil Dead, the show on Stars, you actually have to talk to Stars about that.
Kind of the converse of that, which I find interesting, is the Hasbro cinematic universe. I kind of hate to say that, but Hasbro IP universe, whatever, what have you. So they've got a number of games that all use the same system that are based around their intellectual properties. So you've got a My Little Pony game, you've got a Transformers game, you have a G.I. Joe game, you've got a Power Rangers game.
Hell yeah, Power Rangers.
Yeah, right? And what I find very interesting about this system is that there is a world out there, and there's rules for it in the book that you can use to combine all of those worlds into one game, which sounds chaotic, but kind of interesting. You know, I'm down to see Snake Eyes fight a Megazord.
So that has to deal with their mechanics and is part of their licensing.
Yeah.
I actually do have for free RPG day.
Yeah.
I went out and they had as one of their promotional materials a G.I. Joe Transformers combination that you can play as. And this was just a not supplemental. What's the word I'm looking for? Like it's just a scenario. Electronic adventure. But in it, the way the mechanics work is that their mechanics are designed by scale, which is kind of neat.
Yeah.
The Transformer requires a higher roll, but you can only have so many of them on the field at one time. It's sort of you can have 20 G.I. Joes, but you can only have one Starscream on there.
But can we have ponies in the morphing grid?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can Cutie Mark be a saber-tooth tiger?
100%.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, you can do that.
So Zombie came back and found the Army of Darkness TTRPG. Now,
Is it official?
it's the official licensed TTRPG for Army of Darkness. Yay! But to the point, the first one that you got was the Army of Darkness one, not Evil Dead 2 and not Evil Dead. So anything that happened in the movie Army of Darkness, sure they could use, but they can't really do much with the stuff on that. In fact, most of it looks like that you have to be maybe going back to medieval times for part of it, at least.
So Eden Studios published this in 2005.
Okay.
The Unisystem game system, which is not one I'm familiar with.
Oh, yeah, that,
User
Never heard of it.
exclusive license. Interesting. Yeah, June of 2005.
yeah. But yeah, so they hold the license for it. And since they hold the license, but only for specifically for Army of Darkness, they cannot use anything referenced in Evil Dead that's not in Army of Darkness. And it gets messier still. There's some kind of weird thing for Evil Dead that only Bruce Campbell is allowed to play Ash in live action ever.
Is that true?
Yeah. That's why when he can show up in all these other IPs, but he has to be but Bruce Campbell has to be the one that does it, which is
What about the female Ash?
that's a different character.
It's still Ash Williams.
I don't know. I guess technically Bruce Campbell could play that.
But a lady, like.
Bruce Campbell looks good in the wig and lipstick.
Oh, no,
I've seen it.
it's in the remake. In the remake, Ashley Williams, is the main character, and it's not played by Bruce Campbell.
Her last name's not Williams though.
Is it not?
No. So that, and I brought this up in another podcast episode. It's one of the most impressive things that they have is they have all these characters for the Evil Dead, the video game, which came out. I want to say it was just a couple of years ago, but they. And I made a joke about this because it's still because the opening sequence is the credit that they have for who is like Renaissance Pictures, which has that, and MGM and Stars. You have to sit through like 5 minutes of all the giant list, but in turn they have every character. They have you play the major characters from the first movie, the second movie, the third movie, and the series. So like and apparently. There's a whole reason, like, with Jason versus Freddy, and then there was supposed to be a sequel to that, which is Jason versus Freddy versus Ash. There's a whole reason from IPs why they can't do it all.
So this isn't going to be a surprise, but I apparently did not remember this movie nearly as well, or as confidently as I thought I did, so I'm just wrong. Just as a note, just to fact check myself. I'm just flat wrong. I'm not even close. I'm not in the dark. I'm not playing the same game, apparently. Anyway.
Speaking of playing games, what IP would y'all like to have for a game? If you could have a licensed IP, what would it be?
Well, it would have been Army of Darkness, but they already have that one. So give me a moment to think about this.
Sure, I'd actually like to have a pitch meeting right now with any watchers here. Let's talk about the Courage the Cowardly Dog TTRPG I'm writing.
I'm
listening.
Okay, so there's a fear mechanic that goes up slowly throughout the adventure, and you play as a little dog, and you have a computer mechanic which allows you to interface directly with your GM, and it's just completely berated you the whole time.
Are we all little dogs?
Yeah.
Yes, of course we are.
Okay.
Can I be a grumpy old man instead?
I would say that's we can build out a stat block for a grumpy old man.
Okay. Yeah.
What if the dog makes me look bad? No, I think that sounds awesome. Honestly, I think Courage is actually a really interesting kind of like, if you wanted to expand that out, you could do like a 2000s Cartoon Network system even, right? Where like you could incorporate some of the creepier shows that they did. But I think Courage is a great...
That's a good way to start.
You know, supernatural stuff happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You are a little dog.
Mm-hmm.
You have to try to save your family.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a goal there. You could, like you said, the computer stats allows you to interface with the GM. There's crazy NPCs that the GM can play. Like, I think there's something there.
Yeah, if I was in a pitch something there, because they're like, I got one. I would want to do a Scooby-Doo inspired.
Oh,
There's gotta be a Scooby-Doo.
There's gotta be a
There's
Scooby-Doo.
already a TTRPG Scooby-Doo.
There's probably is one.
But is it good?
Okay, so yeah, that is a very important question because yes, but I need you to bookmark this that Army of Darkness. I'm going back to that one.
Oh, I haven't downloaded it.
Yeah, So, yeah, you can go this way. Hold on.
Hi, this is Zombie Hand. If you've seen,
Hi, zombie.
Hi, Zombie
I'm
Hand.
frequently on the podcast as well. This is going to come as no surprise to anyone, but I think there should be an Alan Wake or a Remedy verse, TTRPG. And it would be cool because you could play as multiple different characters or make your own, but you have a light mechanic to help get rid of the darkness on Taken. So if you play as Alice, the flash on her camera, because she's a photographer, could help get rid of the darkness. Alan has the flashlight. Rose is the lady of the light now, so she could.
I haven't played the second one.
I mean, it happens at the end of the
Or
first game.
Control 2.
It happens at the end of the first game. She becomes the new lady of the light.
Was that in the first one or was that the DLC?
No, that was at the very, very end of the very first game.
I don't know.
Because the lady of the light, I won't go on too much. The lady of the light decides she is done with her job. She has had enough of it, and it becomes Rose's job at the very end. And that's not even entirely a spoiler. But
Not entirely, just a little as a treat. I will say, just to give Zombie Hand some shit, she was in the crowd miming, "Say Alan Wake to me."
I was like, Alan Wake, and he was like, no.
Because that's not my choice. Like,
That's my choice.
It's a good pull, absolutely.
Yeah,
And I
and I
would
think
play a game that one.
There's some really
We call
cool-
it Keepers of the Light.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic RPG idea.
Yeah, but if you want to throw control in there, you could also add some liminal horror type elements to
FTC
it.
Firebreak.
Yeah, but that
The
is not.
award-winning game.
That's actually, we'll play that when it gets better.
It's not good.
It's not good, but
Sadly.
that's not the point. Anyway, that was my thing. I'm gonna go back behind the camera. Zombie him. Bye.
So we have it out.
YouTube.
Until I find
Oh.
one.
Mostly to give me time to think of one.
I was gonna say Scooby-Doo, but.
Shit, that's right.
That was
Very
fine.
figures.
Yeah,
Do another one.
Do another one. Alright, what's another one? I want to stay away from the supernatural because that seems like an easy go-to.
Monsters.
See, easy go-to.
It is, but that'd be sweet.
There's so many anime that would make good RPGs.
Oh yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I hate to bring this one up because it's kind of a garbage anime, but like, Sword Art Online would do
E.
build a character, fight your way up dungeon floors, like. There are others you could pull, but like that was where my mind was like, oh, Sword Art Online. And I was like, oh, but Sword Art Online.
What sort of it? Oh, Cowboy Bebop. I would love to do a
Very
Cowboy
nice.
Bebop.
They have one.
I know, that's why I would love to do a Cowboy Bebop. Wink, wink. Maybe we should do a Cowboy Bebop.
I have it. We could do it. My problem is I keep buying games that I want to play in that I don't want to run. So like Cyberpunk Red is a game on my list where I wanted to play in that for a long time. But I do not want to run it because I want to be in the story.
Dang, I'll run it.
Hell yeah.
Hell
I
yeah.
have Cyberpunk right.
We're in. Let's go.
Because I have the same problem with that.
Zombie Hand has just volunteered to run Cyberpunk.
Yeah, it's on the record.
On the record, official right
Let's
now.
do it.
But
Yeah, like-
yeah, we're waiting on you, buddy.
I know. So my problem is the things that I'm interested in already have games. Like Scooby-Doo that you mentioned, Power Rangers, Final Fantasy, technically speaking. But I mean, I could see a different Final Fantasy game. But the hard part is how you adapt that, right? Do you do one and do like crystals and magic and shit, or do you do 7 where you're a bunch of eco-terrorists? Like,
Yeah. Also, your problem is, do you want to stick closely in the mechanics, or do you want to go away from the mechanics?
Yeah.
Because not every mechanic that works in a video game does work when you do it as a
100%.
TTRPG. And that's also a very important thing to do. If you, like what we were saying with the World of Warcraft, the Final Fantasy 14, if some of it doesn't really jive well, and you have to kind of adjust for that.
well, there have been some times too where I played like Hero System, which is a D6 system.
Mhm.
A lot of fun. Allows you to build your own, characters and different skill points and that sort of thing. Very fun system. And you can basically build anything you want to. So there's a part that's like a Kamen Rider or a Tokusatsu, like Japanese-based superhero show in a game would be a lot of fun. But like, I feel like there's other systems out there that you can just co-op to build that already.
Or, I'm going to pitch this to you,
Yeah.
a kaiju set, but you don't get to play as the kaiju. You're just the people.
Can I be Ken Russell now, man?
In general?
No.
What do you do? You say let them write, thank you.
I mean, like,
There's got to be some really awesome kaiju RPGs.
I bet.
Oh, yeah,
guarantee
I
you.
bet. I think that's all I got.
So there's no official Scooby-Doo TTRPG, but I did find a Scooby-Doo watch pack. So there's mazes, there's coloring pages.
I mean, I did run a Night of Friday Snow Delight in 5th edition D&D for a game for a friend once, so like, it's doable.
So that brings me to one last point, and then I think I can wrap this up for you. If you are going to do this, and you are deciding, I want to use this IP system, but you also want to use a specific tabletop system you want to work with, make sure you have the license for that as well, because they have to bundle together for that one. If you get a 5th edition and it's Scooby-Doo based, you need the license for Scooby-Doo and from 5th edition for that one. So,
Also, as a general disclaimer, not lawyers, not legal advice.
yeah, not legal advice.
Just throwing that out there, do your research.
But yeah, some systems are, and you'll see a bunch of homebrew systems that have like a single company behind them, and then they print out a tabletop for that one. And you see like bigger ones. What is it? GURPS? GURPS is used for like a ton of different things, and so but their system is designed to fit a bunch of different genres, so as to make it easier to slide in.
Friends don't let friends play GURPS. Not even once.
Not even.
I'm kind of surprised, actually, just coming. Does Brandon Sanderson have?
Yeah.
Does it?
It's coming out this year.
It's coming out
This year,
It was
correct?
in Kickstarter, and I think it's coming out this September.
Because he seems like a guy who would have one.
He's the type, he would have one, but
Yeah.
he is also the type that he doesn't just like license his stuff without.
I assume he wrote the TTRPG.
Yeah, he just did.
Well, he's working with a team, and they are checking with him to make sure everything is more accurate. He is helping write it, so it's supposed to be out, I think, in September.
Okay.
But right now there is just a Stormlight Archive board game.
Yes, that I knew.
And I have it.
Wasn't sure about the TTRPG because I was like, if anyone's sure, it should be this guy.
Yeah, shoot, great
He
example.
writes 75 books a year. He should have a TTRPG.
At least one.
There is also a Shin Megami Tensei TTRPG.
Official or unofficial?
Official.
Okay.
It actually just got translated to English. And then there is a homebrew Persona TTRPG, which is actually like built from the ground up by an individual team, like a small team. And it's phenomenal, actually.
I have a game that I kickstarted that is Persona inspired, Persona 5 inspired. It's very noir. It's very cool looking. It's all about doing heists, and I think that's kind of interesting. Where like you would take, I don't remember. I'll look it up. We'll talk. But I do find it very interesting that like you can take something that is, technically speaking, Persona 5 is a game about heisting. Technically.
Very loosely.
I mean, yeah, you're stealing hearts. That's still a crime, Still
Is it an actual heart, or is it just the emotion?
still a crime. Cool motive, still murder.
It's something you're both guilty of for me.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, one for...
But I do find it interesting that, like, this group of people took that idea and was like, hey, we like anime-based shenanigans and heists. What if we made a game that's kind of similar? Like, the aesthetic is very, like, black and white with, like, flashes of red throughout. It's very, like, they're pointing at me like that thing.
It's like that, but not.
But not that thing.
But not that. But yeah.
Legally distinct.
Legally distinct. I think that's sort of a good notion for that. Most of this has to be legally distinct for that. But also, if you're doing a licensed IP, you don't want to be too legally distinct. You want to have that because that's...
Contact an IP attorney and an IP expert.
Yeah. Please, don't take our word for it. Get ourselves in trouble and know where to go to ask. But that's about it. But yeah, I think that is all I've got, unless you guys can think of any neat ones that you've seen that you've checked out. The only one I can think of off the top of my head, and I mentioned it before, is the Buffyverse TTRP, because you can play as a Slayer, but once somebody picks to be the Slayer, because this is all, no one else is allowed. Everyone else can't play. Everyone else gets to be Giles or somebody lower.
Could it be vampires?
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Oh, man, I always
You just can't be the
Xander.
That was one. Sorry, Supernatural actually had a supplemental to explain different things for it. And that's because of how they had to make a couple of changes. The only one I remember about that change is that they had to change how demons work because of Bobby Singer's origins that was listed in the show Supernatural. Because he unalived his wife who was possessed by a demon. And so they had to add in, also you can chunky salsa a lot of monsters. You know, I could use a 7 times blessed Shinto blessed knife, or throw in the wood chipper. They both work.
I would play a Tucker and Dale Fight Evil RPG, just as a note. You mentioned wood chipper, so that's what got me there. But I think it'd be fun to like play 2 normal dudes who have fallen into a misunderstanding and have to survive crazy teenagers.
They were just having a doozy of a day.
We've had a doozy of a day, officer. I'm just saying, that sounds like a fun time to me. I love that movie.
But yeah, that's all I've got for this one. Alright.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. And this is Gaming Theater Podcast, logging out.
Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Gaming Theater Podcast is hosted, created, produced, and edited by Leo Garcia, the Geek Scorpio. Our music is A Drinking Game, stock media provided by Stormwave Audio /Pond5. Our cover art is by Adam Parker. You can find him at ParkerGFX on Twitter. If you want to send us some money to help with these episodes, you can do so at patreon.com/gamingtheaterpresents. Want to send support that doesn't hit your wallet? Please leave a review with wherever you hear your podcasts and share our podcast with your friends. It really helps out. Thank you for listening.